everyone, welcome back to my booktube channel, Lisa in Bookland. I'm on my way out to a match, as you can see, but I said I'd just film a really quick book haul and show you some books I bought recently. Most of these were second hand. I did pick up a few new ones, and it's probably over the last few months. I did pick up a few others that I've already read, have been included in various wrap-ups, so I didn't include them here, but so definitely a strong historical fiction theme in this. So the first book I'm going to talk about is Scarlet Feather by Maeve Binchy. So I read my very first Maeve Binchy book during the Irish Readathon and absolutely loved it, so I was dying to try another one. This book is about two friends seemingly that set up a catering business in Dublin against both of their families' expectations. So yeah, I'm expecting the same kind of humour and warm feelings that were in the last Maeve Binchy book that I read. So the next book then I'm also very excited about, and is also from another author that I've read recently, and that's Falling Angels by Tracy Chevalier. I've read two Tracy Chevalier books recently, one in April and one in May, and yeah, I can't wait to get to this one. I love Tracy Chevalier's writing. This is a historical fiction book, and it's set at the very start of the Edwardian period, I think, or around when Queen Victoria died, so I don't really need to know that much more about it. Tracy Chevalier is fast becoming a favourite author for me. So the next book is another book from an author that I want to read more by, and that's Sebastian Faulks, and this one is Human Traces. So from what I can see from the back, it starts off in the 1870s. Again, two friends set themselves up as psychiatrists. I suppose when the field was just starting to emerge, and it seems to go all the way through to the First World War. Sebastian Faulks, I think, is quite literary, a little bit more than I'd be used to, but I just loved his portrayal of the First World War for so much in Birdsong. I was interested in picking this up. It was only €1 or something at a charity shop, so another long book, but yeah, no, it'll be good. But the next one I picked up, I think, in a supermarket, and that's Miss Emily by Nuala O'Connor, who's an Irish author. So it's set during the 1800s in Amherst. The Emily in the title is Emily Dickson, the poet. So it's about her friendship with an Irish maid called Ada Kincannon. At this stage I don't know whether Ada is a real character or fictionalised, but I'll find that out when I go in, I suppose. I've never read any of Emily Dickinson's poetry, but I know she's very well regarded. So yeah, maybe this will encourage me to pick up some poetry, which wouldn't be something I'd usually go down, but there's always room for diversification in reading, I suppose. The next book is one I've heard a lot about on BookTube, and again an author I've only read one book from before, and that's Fingersmith by Sarah Waters. So I read The Little Stranger by Sarah Waters and absolutely loved it. It was such an engrossing book, a long one as well, but this is over 500 pages. I believe it's about this orphan who becomes involved or taken in by this group of pickpockets, hence the title Fingersmith. So I've heard that there's like some LGBT elements in this book as well, and yeah, that'll be great. And I did love The Little Stranger, so looking forward to reading more Sarah Waters. So the next book is one I'll definitely be saving for Jane Austen July, and is one that I can't believe I haven't tried yet, but that's Miss Austen by Gill Hornby. So I know this book is set during the Victorian period, and it's about Cassandra, Jane Austen's sister, after Jane has died, so, and what she got up to. And I believe it's kind of about Jane Austen's letters and her decisions about what to do with those. And of course Cassandra did famously destroy a lot of Jane Austen's letters, which I suppose as fans of Jane Austen we tend to get upset at her sometimes. So yeah, I'm really looking forward to focusing on Cassandra in this book, and it is interesting that she lived so much longer than Jane, especially when they were so close. Another booktube darling from a few years ago, and that's the Essex Serpent by Sarah Perry. As I said, this was a few years ago, though I expect this book will see a resurgence because there's an adaptation coming out of it on one of the streaming platforms soon. So this book seems to be about this woman at the end of the 19th century that leaves London and goes back to Essex, to the marshes, where there's this tales of this like mythical serpent, and I believe from the back she has like some clashes with the vicar on opinions of like science and faith, presumably. So looking forward to, I suppose, exploring those themes more. This month I read Remarkable Creatures, which follows similar themes at the start of the 19th century. So yeah, I am kind of interested in this area at the moment, and if I enjoy this book I might go and check out the series. I'll always remember as well when I was buying this in the second-hand bookshop, bookshop, a lady came up to me when she saw it in my hand and said how good a book it was and that I should definitely buy it, and we should normalise that in bookshops. There are more conversations in bookshops. The last day I was in a bookshop and somebody was looking for a particular type of book, and myself and the shop sales assistant had a great chat and a hunt trying to find that kind of particular book, so that was so much fun. So yeah, always talk to people in bookshops if you have an opinion, at least a good opinion about the book they've picked up. So the last historical fiction book I'm going to talk about is Fragrant Harbour by John Lanchester, and this seems to be about a group of different people in Hong Kong, and I'm guessing from the back and at least from like the cover that it's historical fiction, though it doesn't really specify a year range or anything. So yeah, it'll be interesting to broaden my horizons a little bit with this one when so many of the other books I've talked about are set in England. So the one and only contemporary I'm going to mention, another author I've read 2 previous books by, and that's the Slowworm song by Andrew Miller. I've previously read 2 of Andrew Miller's previous historical fiction books and I really liked them. This isn't historical fiction, but it's about an ex-English soldier who served in the Troubles in Northern Ireland, and he's called back for, like, I suppose an inquest into something that happened. So yeah, the Troubles isn't an area I've read an awful lot about, and obviously is quite recent history in Ireland, so, and it is kind of a similar theme I suppose to that other book, Now We Shall Be Entirely Free, in a soldier kind of dwelling on what he did during his service time. So yeah, it'll be interesting to see how those 2 books link up, and Andrew Miller is a brilliant author. Finally, to non-fiction that I picked up recently, one new, this is the new one, so it's The First Irish Cities, an 18th century transformation. The 18th century is something that I'm like interested in, especially the end of the 18th century, start of the 19th century, as you know, but I haven't read an awful lot about Ireland in the 18th century, to my shame, so it's something I will be trying to correct. And obviously a lot of the architecture from this period is still remaining around the cities and like the big public buildings and that, so I'll be interested in kind of reading those. And obviously it's so nice when Ireland is such a small country that after I read it I can go and visit for a day or something and see what I've read about. So on the back it says like Ireland went from a backward island on the periphery of Europe in 1600 and went through profound changes to become Europe's 14th largest city by 1750, on a par with Berlin. So yeah, it's just interesting to hear about that kind of development of Ireland. So yeah, I'm not sure when I'll get to this one, but I'll get to it at some stage, I'm sure. And finally, then I suppose is this book called Barrow's Boys, the Original Extreme Adventurers. So as anybody that's watching this channel for any length of time knows, I am interested in especially like 19th century exploration, just the feats of like daring and courage and insanity that people did then. It does describe at the front a stirring story of daring, fortitude and outright lunacy. Yeah, I suppose I'm not a very adventurous person myself, so to read about these things that people did just is living vicariously through others. It says in 1816, John Barrow, second secretary to the British Admiralty, launched the most ambitious exploration programme the world has ever seen. So it kind of describes like explorations into the Arctic, into like the Sahara and into the like interior of Africa, to, you know, places that no Western people had been before, and the stories they'd brought back and charting maps and things. So I think this book will be really interesting. So that's it. Good few books, and I'll be excited to get to them all. I really have to dash because people are probably waiting for me already, but thanks for listening, thanks for watching, and I'll see you next Thursday for my next video.